last year, Dan Goerke in Atlanta sent me an email. He had been Googling higher self to higher self communication. Yes, it's getting out there. People are starting to expand to the notion of expanded consciousness. Dan wanted confirmation that he was indeed telepathizing with his wife. He'd been caring for 4.5 years, diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 56, and was entering last stages of Alzheimer's. He'd been telepathizing with her and found that it was just as he was dressing her for bed that they seemed to have the most interactive telepathic conversation. And he surmised that it might be because it's a time of day when everyone's, So his initial conversation became my son says, don't call it a three-way, threesome. We were triangulating where I was interpreting for Denise to confirm that Dan had been catching her thoughts. So yes, she pantomimes to me. When I was holding the cat the other day, I was telepathizing, telling you the cat needs a bath. Dan became an apprentice, and again, we were triangulating each weekly session. And Denise, it was fascinating to experience vast consciousness, sans body. Not that different from when I interpret for souls in the non-physical. I used to call it the other side, but that implies it's a place. It's not a place, it's a state of consciousness. We've simply dropped the body. We're the same evolving consciousness. But to experience Denise in her wholeness, with an overview of everything, and she didn't suddenly become a guru, just like loved ones don't. We're the same evolving soul. But her lucid state, she was so present, and Dan said what I was describing was her characteristic humor, her love of nature. And then when he'd ask about her care, it was almost like that body was a distraction, like, what? Oh, what do you want to know about that? As if she was running her body up with a remote control. These golf carts we call our bodies, moseying around on planet Earth. So at one point, Denise projected 3 different facilities, memory care facilities, that Dan had yet to go look at, and which one she would prefer, where she's now been residing for over a year. Her daughter became an apprentice, and Phoenix wanted to fine-tune her ability to telepathize with her mom. And not too long ago, Phoenix was going to fly to see her mom, and Denise is projecting a garment with a splash of orange. Phoenix said, oh, that's an outfit or a garment I just put in a bag to take to Mom. And I said, well, not to hurt your feelings, but she's saying she really doesn't need it. So this lucid stream of consciousness, and it really excites me to, as people learn about this, trust their own sense of doing telepathy. But it can make some people crazy. Was that my voice? Was that her voice? Was that God? So it's not for everybody. But that it's possible. And when I started working with Dan, he reported that when he would dress Denise in the morning, she was often having tantrums and anxiety, lots of frustration. Well, frustrated because they're not being heard. And so one morning, he said, he telepathized, you're so calm. How come? And she telepathized back, because we're going to be meeting with Louise. She was going to be heard. So if doctors knew that people who do this for those with dementia, the change in behavior, we all want to be heard. But my gosh, we're not these bodies, and we're certainly not who we are in various states of consciousness. There was a beloved yoga teacher from Southern California who sent me lots of referrals, and she's now, gosh, it's been 10 years in a facility with Alzheimer's. And when she first was starting to seem not that present, I said to a friend of hers, it's like the light's going out. And no one knew that she would be diagnosed with Alzheimer's. When I first tuned into her, I said, so Judy, what is this for you? And she said, it's the first time no one's asked anything of me. My favorite expression, you never know what's for what.